Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the lineup. I'm Rick Goff. I'm your host for this evening, and I'm joined tonight by Coach Tabor.
Thanks for having me.
And the best producer in the business, Anthony Grassi. Self-applause over there. We got a full show for you tonight. We got a lot of things on tap. We were off for a week. Now we're back at it. We've got some things to talk about in our recap. We're going to talk about some toughness on the Major League Baseball side. We're going to talk about, as always, old Mr. Jacob deGrom.
My favorite.
Your favorite.
My favorite.
We're going to talk about some a major base running blunder that I'm sure everyone saw. We're going to compare it to youth baseball and what some things have happened that you think you've seen it all. We're going to go over some bat flips. Are they getting out of control? We're going to talk about that and how it's traveling down to the youth of our country. And we're going to preview the TbS Nationals that are coming up in 7 days. Excited to get that going. I know some teams around the country are looking forward to coming into that. And then we'll get to the top 10 plays. And, man, we've got some good ones tonight for you guys for the month of May. And that will lead us off into we are taking top plays already for the month of June. If you have a top play, defensive-wise, offensive-wise, send it to us. We want to see it. Send it to the lineup at athletics.com, and you could be on the show 1 month from tonight talking about the top plays of June. Well, here we are, June 7th. The season is winding down, Tabor, and it'll be over before you know it.
Yep. It will. I mean, that's the crazy thing about baseball is it's always so continuous. There's always something going on, and the season creeps up on you fast.
Yeah, it just seems like we got the season started, and now here we are in June, winding the season down. Most teams are looking forward to playing in their end-of-the-year tournaments, their World Series, their national championships, whatever they've got going on at whatever age level. It's going to be coming up very soon, and then it'll be over. So it's been a good ride, and everybody's looking forward. After missing last year, 2020 was a year that was not, and so should be good. Good baseball coming up here now, all around, all over the country. Well, let's start off, as we always do on our show, we'll start off with our recap. Got a couple of teams we'd like to give a shout-out to. The first one is TbS number 1, 11U, Prime Baseball out of Florida. They played a couple of weeks ago. We were off a week, so we want to give them a shout-out for what they did Memorial Weekend. They went 5-0 in a big event that had a lot of good teams in it. They went 5-0 and outscored their opponents 44-10 at the 10U level.
Good night.
Yeah, I mean defense, right? I mean everybody says defense wins
that's
ball games.
2 runs a game.
2 runs a game at the 10U level.
That's awesome.
So shout out to those guys. Nice job for that weekend. Second shout out goes to TbS 12U, number 7 ranked Banditos Black out of Texas. They played this past weekend, and Tabor, they went 5-0. And outscored their opponents 49-3.
Yeah, I've actually got to keep up with that team this past weekend. There's 2 baseball youth leaders on that team, so shout out to them. Good job.
Who's the baseball youth leaders on that team?
Brandon Alvar and Isaac Guerrero.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, I'm sure we'll see both of them in Kentucky next week as number 12 Banditos will be here.
And I'm excited.
You'll get to reunite with some of those guys. Actually, you're going to reunite with a couple players, right? Or
yeah.
a few more.
Yeah.
Who else is coming?
We got Hector Cadena, and I will also he's with the Los Banditos 21, LB 21.
LB 21, yeah.
Yep. And then Roman Martinez, I know, is coming, and he's with the ZT Elite.
ZT Elite. Yep. Oh, man. So that's going to be good time. You get to catch up with those guys. I'm sure you're looking forward to that.
Yep.
We're looking forward to the tournament as a whole. So that's shout out to both of those teams who had good showings here in the last couple of weeks. Now we're going to start off talking about Kevin Pollard.
Gosh, that was nasty.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I've seen the highlights of it. I didn't see it when it happened. Well, excuse me, it's not a highlight, but I did see it happen. And gosh,
Sure.
The toughness that man has is geez Louise.
Well, you know what? Normally I tell people if you haven't seen the video, go check it out. But on this one, I'm suggesting that you don't check it out. Just take our word for it.
Yeah.
He took a 94-mile-an-hour fastball right to the face and went down. And instantly when you see the video, you're thinking to yourself, it's not baseball related anymore, right?
Yeah.
That goes out the door. and you start thinking about his health and welfare and his safety, his family.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of things flash. If you're a true baseball player and a baseball fan, baseball takes a secondary seat at that split-second moment.
Oh yeah, because I mean it's terrible. I mean we've seen this not long ago with Aroldis Chapman when he took that one to the face.
Yeah,
and I mean it's just nasty. You wouldn't wish that on your worst enemy, man. And I just hope he recovers well and he's ready to get after it.
And we had a minor league pitcher that took a line drive off the head, was in the hospital for a while. So it's a scary situation at any time. And these are professional athletes, and their reflexes are supposed to be in the top 1% of everybody in the entire country. And, every once in a while, a pitch gets away.
Yeah. Yeah, but we're also seeing why the pros want to move the mound back. I mean, you think 6 inches ain't a big deal in baseball, but you move that mound back 6 inches, is he able to get a glove on it?
Split second.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's a split second. So, he took one to the face, but lo and behold, Pollard, 2 weeks later, is back in the lineup. And to me, that was amazing that he came back after being hit with a 94-mile-an-hour fastball, that he came back.
Yeah, but as a teammate, it's very easy to get behind a guy like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Very easy to make plays for him because now you've seen he's literally hit rock bottom and he's still ready to fight for his team.
Yeah, and so, hats off to Pollard and what he's able to do. He's got to wear that protective mask, and rightfully so, on his face. Man, I don't know. I don't know if I could personally go back that soon. And I like to think myself, I'm pretty tough.
I'm not that tough.
But I don't know if I'm not that tough.
I'm not that tough. I can tell you this right now. I'd have been down for a good month.
Right.
For a good month.
Right.
Because mentally, I mean, it takes a different kind of dog. It takes a different kind of beast to just, all right, I took this 94-mile-an-hour fastball. Now 2 weeks later, I'm going to get on the mound. And
you got to believe there's got to be some visions when he sees a pitch.
Oh, there's got to be some PTSD.
Yeah.
There has to be.
Got to be.
Yeah.
And, how you don't flinch your first few at-bats, going through all that stuff is...
For me, I'd lob it in and just let him hit it out of the park just so I can be like, okay, it's not coming at me every time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a little scary for those, but, Pollard's back at it. Kudos to him. I sat there and thought about myself. I'm like, how long would it take me? And I like to think that I'm pretty tough and I would suck it up and come back. But boy, I'm not gonna lie, it wouldn't be 2 weeks. No, it wouldn't be 2 weeks. But then you take and you see these guys in other sports, and basketball. Let's basketball for example, and I mean they get touched and they've got to miss 3 or 4 games.
Yep. High ankle sprains will put him out for a month.
Yeah. And so Pollard definitely represented baseball and his mental toughness and his physical toughness. And those basketball players don't look so tough after what Pollard did.
For sure not.
Well, speaking of tough, excuse me. And speaking of coming back from something traumatic like that, let me tell you a story. About Ray Caldwell. Now, you're probably sitting there and you're looking at me and you're like, who is Ray Caldwell? Well, let me tell you who Ray Caldwell is. He was a pitcher back in 1929.
So before any of us were thought of, got it.
1929, who was struck by lightning during a game. So do you realize what the chances of being struck by lightning are?
I think you have a better chance of getting eaten by a shark.
I think you got a better chance of hitting the lottery than you do getting struck by lightning.
For sure.
But good old Ray got struck by lightning back in 1929. He gets up and he shakes it off and he finishes the game pitching.
But that's no big deal. It's no big deal. He just got struck by lightning. It's no big deal.
Finished the game. Did you hear what I said? He finished the game. He didn't go off. He didn't get carted off. This is 1929. He finished the game pitching. Not only that, Tabor, 17 days later, he throws a no-hitter after getting struck by lightning.
So I think it's safe to say that we've gotten soft as the years have went on.
Just a little bit. Could you imagine if somebody got struck by lightning today? Their season would be done. They'd be done.
I think the complex would shut down. at whatever complex they're at.
I mean, I'm talking about a professional baseball player, though.
Yeah.
I mean, if he got struck by lightning, he'd be done for the season.
Yeah. But not him. Not Ray Caldwell.
Not Ray Caldwell. Struck by lightning in the ninth inning of a game, gets up, finishes it off, and 17 days later throws a no-hitter.
I mean, apparently it's what he did in his free time was get struck by lightning, because that is just something crazy to think about.
So okay, let me ask you, what's more amazing to you? What feat is more amazing to you? The fact that Pollard was back 2 weeks after taking a fastball at 94, or good old Ray Caldwell who got struck by lightning?
Absolutely Ray Caldwell, because,
Yeah.
I mean, that defies all of everything that we know.
Yeah,
I mean, like you said, what is it,
sense.
1 in 10 million, 1 in 10 billion of an odd that you're going to get struck by lightning?
Yeah, that's crazy. So I was just kind of found that stat and kind of put it in comparison to what Pollard did.
Well, apparently if Ray Caldwell would have got hit by that 94-mile-an-hour fastball, he'd have finished the game. So
He'd have finished the game.
he would have.
All right, good old Ray would have finished the game. Well, speaking of finishing game, let's get on to our adopted son.
I'm just going to be honest. I didn't even look his stats up this time
What?
because I want you to shock me.
So Grassi's going to put this up, what he did last week, and this is not even taking into consideration what he did the prior week. But he won actually a couple of games.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
he got some run support
For the first time.
for the first time. But based on his stat line, he didn't really need it. So his last outing was 7 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, 11 Ks, and he lowered his ERA to .62.
You know, honestly, his ERA is getting to be a little too high, so I'm glad to see that he's
that it come
bringing
down?
Yeah, I'm glad to see that he's bringing that down a little bit.
You know, he is just a freak of nature right now. I mean, he's in the zone. Every time he takes the mound, I mean, you got to believe if you're the Mets, all you got to do is get this guy 2 runs, and you stand a good chance to win the game.
What we need to recognize is I've constantly, I have a friend that's a Mets fan, and, I know Daniel Murphy who played for the Mets. So I have a little bit of watching them, and you just always wonder how much better can this guy be. And every season he's like, here you go, I'll show you.
I can tell you I have the Major League Baseball package where you can watch every game on TV, and I can tell you this right now. When DeGrom pitches, it's the only game that I tune into.
He's lights out.
And he is fun. He's worth the price of admission.
Yep.
And Grassi and I talked about this about a week ago. We talked about players that you would go to pay to watch play. I'm older now, so going to the games live are not as enticing and exciting to me as they was 20, 25 years ago.
For sure.
But I still have guys that I would pay to go see, and at the top of that list is DeGrom. I would pay money to go watch him pitch in person.
Well, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I seen that in the 7th inning of a game, last week or week prior, he was touching 100.
100.
You're touching 107 innings, man. Like, he's taking his stuff serious. He's putting in the work. It's undeniable. It's just a matter of, are the Mets going to give him the support?
Grassi, what was that stat that you gave me last week about his first 8 or 10 pitches or something in the game? Didn't they hit 100 miles an hour?
I think it was that.
The anything he was talking about?
King of the Mountain.
Yeah. I mean, every pitch that he threw was 100 miles an hour.
The fact that he can get stronger as he goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's superhuman almost.
And as a hitter, he's hitting over 400.
A stud.
He's hitting over 400. I'm gonna tell you right now, if I was the Mets, I would have him pinch hit late in games when he's not pitching. Like, hey, get out of the bullpen, come down here because we might need you to pinch hit.
But on the flip side of that, do you do that and take the chance of a team being ignorant enough to throw at him?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. What has DeGrom done to him? Other than shut him down.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know. I know at today's age, man, like just putting that pitcher in that box. I mean, think back to LSU with Todd Peterson, man. Like,
yeah, I get it. But still, I mean, he's hitting 391.
No, he is absolutely raking, and especially in that National League. I mean, there's some stud pitchers out there he's faced. He's not facing just slouches. So, I mean, he's definitely doing the job.
Yeah, no, he's definitely been on top of his game. He's finally getting some run support over there, which has got to make him feel better. And, so he's up a couple of wins. But, I mean, right now people are talking about him breaking Bob Gibson's ERA record. And I think Gibson's ERA record was a shade over 1. And you have DeGrom is at .62.
And honestly, at this point of the season, I don't see it going up very much. Unless something crazy happens to where he gives up a 10 to 12 run outing. I mean, at this point, he's kind of set the tone of, like, this is where we're at.
Gibson was 1-1-2. That's the record. 1-1-2. And
As a coach, what do you ask for?
I mean, you can't ask for anything else.
No.
I mean, he's 1-1-2. DeGrom's at .62. And listen, we've been around this game long enough to know that it's bound to happen. He's going to have a bad outing.
Yep.
It's bound to happen.
Absolutely.
The law of averages are going to get him. But what is a bad inning for DeGrom? He gives up 3 runs. Or a bad game, I mean. He gives up 3 runs. Is that a bad outing for him? Based on his .62, that's a bad outing.
I mean, for sure for his outing, but I mean, I know for me as a coach, man, I tell my guys, look, if you can get me 4 runs, pitchers, you're allowed 4 runs, and I know at that level it's much lower, but man, like, just to think he's not giving up a run per game, like, that's not your average.
Well, I told you that I would pay to go see DeGrom. Who was some guys in today's game that you would pay to go see?
For me, it would definitely be, I love seeing Clayton Kershaw and that dog he's got in him.
I agree. I would pay to go see Kershaw.
I like Kershaw. Outside of that, it's definitely going to be more along the lines of Acuna and Tatis Jr. and Mike Trout.
I'll give you Trout. I'd probably go pay to go see Trout.
Because honestly, he's going to go down as one of the greatest to ever do it. So,
but does Acuna, his lack of hustle sometimes, does that bother you? Does it get on your nerves?
I mean, yes and no, but I mean, the thing is I was an emotional player. I was kind of that same way when things weren't going my way. Maybe I showed him in a different light, the same way Acuna does. But, I mean, he's also showed us those glimpses, though, of, hey, I'm ready to get after it.
Now, you say Tatis. Why would you pay to see Tatis?
I love his emotion.
His flair?
I love it. There's nothing about there's something.
The swag.
There's something about the emotion in baseball that cannot be matched. I mean, it's a game of failure, so whenever things go your way, there's just so much emotion. There's so much things like, let's go. And he plays my brand of baseball. I love it. If you give me 12 of him at 12, I'll win every tournament. Yeah,
but can you keep that up for 162 games?
I think you can. I mean, when you're playing on raw emotion,
you got to get tired eventually. You need
but
break.
that comes into taking your mental serious, coming in, taking all that stuff, like taking your breaks. You need to get away from the game. Like, there's ways to play and coach at a high level with that emotion, with that energy. Because
what's your feeling on guys taking days off just to rest?
That does bother me because honestly, I refer back to Michael Jordan on this. Like, we're paying to see you.
Yeah.
Whether that's
I agree.
We're paying to see you at your best. You're paid to do this at your best. You don't get days off. Now, yes, if you're injured, I do completely understand. But again, there's a difference in being injured and being hurt.
I know we're talking about, you brought up Jordan and it's basketball, and I know this is a baseball show, but you can take the correlation.
Yeah.
And driving into work today, I listened to ESPN, and I listened to an interview with Dominique Wilkins.
Yeah.
And they talked about that. They talked about, playing hurt or over a minor injury or playing, and Dominique said, back in our days, we never thought about taking a day off. We played every day if we could.
Yep.
And we played hurt if we could because we owed it to the fans. But that's not the mentality of today's people.
Correct.
Today's athletes have the mentality like, well, if I play and I'm sort of hurt, if I get seriously hurt, then I'm costing myself millions of dollars. It's a me approach.
Oh yeah.
And that's the difference when people want to compare, Mike Trout to a Don Mattingly, or they want to compare LeBron to Michael Jordan. It's hard to do that because the mindset and the mentalities are different.
Yep.
The athletes today, they'll take days off. You'll never see anybody approach Cal Ripken's consecutive game streak ever again.
Ever.
That's one of the things that is untouchable.
Yep.
But okay, so you talked about Tatis, you talked about Trout, you talked about Acuna. What about some old guys that maybe was around before your time, and who would you pay to go see?
Ken Griffey Jr. is my absolute
yeah.
GOAT. I love him.
I got a chance to see him play a few times.
Mark McGwire, I would love to have seen that summer where him and Sosa went at it. I've seen the movie 61, so I kind of seen just the atmosphere that he was always in.
It was a crazy atmosphere.
So Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa. One that I would have loved would have been Derek Jeter. I mean, just because of who he is and the nostalgia around it. But for me, definitely Ken Griffey Jr. is the top of the list. If I could go back and pay and see one person, he's it.
Let me give you an interesting stat on Jeter, and I'm probably going to take a lot of heat for this. But in my opinion, Jeter's not a very good shortstop.
He's the captain, baby.
No, listen, he is. He's a captain. But there was a interesting stat about Jeter that basically said he made the plays he was supposed to.
Yeah.
And you take somebody like Ozzie Smith, who got the balls that Jeter would no way in the world ever get to.
Yep.
And they come up with this grading scale, and Ozzie was at the top of this scale.
Yep.
Ozzie was unreal. The things that Ozzie did was incredibly defensively wise. And Jeter was nowhere near the top of that list. He was average.
Yeah, but you know that I say the same thing because I don't think he was overly productive, but again, he did his job year in and year out. He batted his 300, made the plays he was supposed to make, and so I think that's where he got a lot of
the field most of the time.
Yes, there was no injuries. He was not going to do that.
If Jeter was not in the lineup, he was hurt.
Yeah.
You knew he was hurt.
Yeah, he couldn't go. Yeah, he couldn't go.
So for that aspect, I do respect him.
Yep.
I do respect him.
Yeah.
But
very average shortstop.
I take a lot of heat for making that comment. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, but I agree with you.
But he is going to be an average shortstop.
Yep.
Our producer just flashed me a sign that says Jeter ranks last ever in defensive runs saved. And that doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me. His range was average at best.
No, and the only thing that put him on the spot was the play he made against the A's when he was where
he wasn't supposed to be.
Yeah, he wasn't supposed to be, but again, it worked out for him.
But that was baseball instinct, though.
That's great.
You know what?
And then the Jeter throw.
I give him credit for that play against the A's because he wasn't supposed to be there, but he saw what was developing.
Yep.
So his sixth sense, if you will, kind of set him up for that play.
His baseball IQ is top notch.
His baseball IQ, we're not questioning that.
Yep. So, I mean, I think, and then like I said, the Jeter throw. I mean, I think once you take those two things away, I think he's very average. Yeah.
The jump throw?
Yeah. I mean, because think about it. I can remember being a kid making that same throw, like, oh, Jeter.
He had to make the jump throw because he didn't get to the ball in time to make a normal throw.
Correct.
So,
but the thing is me and you see that because we're baseball people, whereas people that are not baseball see that and they're like, oh my gosh, who makes a throw like that?
Well, I don't want to turn this into a hating on Jeter thing because I do respect his game.
3,000 hits, man, you got to respect him.
He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He played the game the right way.
But we don't have to say that he's the best.
No, we don't. We don't. And you know, I'm from Michigan. He's a Michigan guy. And I remember all the hoopla when he was growing up and everything else. And congrats to him. He ended up in the right environment. And he ended up with the Yankees.
Perfect system for him.
Where would Jeter have been if he'd have been drafted by the Orioles?
Yep, exactly.
You don't know because he would have never played over Ripken. There's no way at the time.
Well, that's one of those things we'll never know. He got his 3,000 hits.
Let's move on. So who else? Let's go back a few years. I mean, now you're going back in my time. Let's even go back. Anybody else you'd pay to go see? Regardless of the sport. I don't care what sport it is.
Any sport?
Basketball, football.
No, man. Honestly, like Griffey's the it. Griffey's
it for you.
He's the kid, man.
You'd pay, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because I didn't appreciate his greatness, but now, like, seeing the similarities and how I approached the game and how he approached it was very similar.
You know, you make a great point there, Tabor. You didn't appreciate his greatness at the time. And I can tell you now that I'm in my 50s, I can say that about a lot of star athletes. Michael Jordan being one of them. I was being from Michigan and a Detroit Piston fan.
Yeah.
Did not. I mean, people say Michael Jordan. I'm like, he is garbage.
Yep.
But now I'm older. That time has come past. I can appreciate his game a lot more.
Yep.
I was spoiled growing up. I got to see Barry Sanders on a regular basis.
Oh yeah.
And he is absolutely electric on the football field. For me, Nolan Ryan, I'd pay to see Nolan Ryan, and I did see him quite a few times in my time. But he was one that I would pay to go see whenever he came through Detroit. I made sure I went to the game.
Oof. Another one I just thought of. Prime Randy Johnson. I want to see a prime Randy Johnson throw in
6'10".
Yeah.
Dropping down sidearm from the left side.
Nasty.
Yeah. How did you even stand in on that?
That bird had no chance.
The bird had no chance.
Had no chance.
No, that is true. He had no chance. Basketball for me, athletes I would pay to go see. Man, back in the day, Showtime and the Lakers with Magic Johnson and those guys, I'd pay to go see those guys.
Larry Bird type people.
Larry Bird, I'd pay to go see him.
Yep, for sure.
So in today's regiment here, I would pay to see Trout. I would. I still like Tatis. even though I think he's a little over the top, I would probably pay to see him. Clayton Kershaw for sure. I would not pay to see Acuna. And man, that's about it. It's a short list for me. I'm older.
Yeah.
Like I said, going to the games. Now you can set and get the MLB package like we talked about, and I can watch any game I want to on TV at any time, any player across the country.
And you can turn on
one.
one select station and have 12 games playing at the same time.
You can. So that's a whole different atmosphere,
Yeah.
for me. But we got kind of down a rabbit hole there. But this all started with I would pay to go see Jacob deGrom.
Yeah.
And I watch every one of his games, and man, his stuff is just electric. And so I'm anxious to see. He's got a chance to win MVP and Cy Young in the same year.
Absolutely.
He's got to be the front runner right now
For
and
both.
And he's got a chance to break Gibson's ERA record. So I'm pulling for him. I know we all here at Athletics are pulling for him.
Oh, yeah.
So let's move on to another major league, and I say that with loosely, major league.
More like
Base running. Actually, it's not. We've got on there that is a base running blunder. It's actually not a base running blunder.
no, it's a fielding.
It's a fielding blunder.
You, like that. You. I'm flustered. Give me a second. Jesus.
Yeah. I mean,
it doesn't make sense.
how do you?
Your first baseman, field the ball, touch the bag.
So for those of you who didn't see the play, you got to be under a rock first of all if you haven't seen this play. A ground ball to the first baseman. And Baez is running up the line. He decides to stop so he doesn't get tagged.
Make him make a play. Exactly what you're taught to do.
But the problem here is there's 2 outs.
You gotta be kidding me.
And they scored a run.
There's 2 outs. And so, as a coach, even youth coaches across the country had to watch this play unfold and develop and just basically lose their mind. They had to go absolutely nuts because everybody and their brother knows, even the novice of fans know with 2 outs, even if he runs back towards home plate, all you got to do is turn around and go touch first base. Innings over. We're all done. No harm, no foul.
My 11-year-old nephew knows if he fields a ground ball to touch first base.
Well, this just goes to show you that even Major League Baseball players lose their mindset for just a minute. And if you lose focus and don't know the situation, this is the type of things that happen.
I mean, it's almost looked like they had him in a pickle from first going back to home. Guy slides in, he's safe. They throw it in the right field, and all I can think of is you're joking.
Now, even with the runner crossing the plate,
Yeah, even if you throw it to first and he's out, there's no
run. There's no run scored.
So, and the thing that baffles me the most is I didn't play first base that much, but I played it enough to know that, okay, here, I'm going to tag you. All right, you're running away from me. What are you going to do? Go back to home? Please let me go touch first.
Grassi, run that video again because I want you to watch Baez, okay? Not only does he get in the rundown, but if you watch closely enough, Baez also makes the call at the plate to help the umpire out with the runner being safe. And then he decides to run to first base after he helps the umpire out.
Yeah, and then he slides to first, by the way.
And then he slides to first.
Like he's avoiding a tag.
So, yeah, if you see it here, I mean, he sits there and he makes a safe call and then he takes off. I mean, I just sit and laugh because this is something that I would see when I was coaching baseball for my 11, my 12-year-olds. This is something that they would do and drop just the mental aspect of the game.
But it makes me question the coaching. Like, you're telling me you can't scream at him and say 1-1-1.
Hang on.
The entire dugout?
I can't blame the coaches for this. I can't.
Oh, I'm not blaming them, but at what point do you as a manager get involved and you're like, hey, 1-1-1? Now, granted, they're the greatest players in the world.
Correct.
They should know what's going on.
They should know what's going on.
But I can say this now, especially since I've seen that play. There's no such thing as overcoaching, so I'm team overcoach everybody. I don't care if they're 30 and playing the show.
And so, it makes you wonder now when you go to these weekend tournaments and you see the kids do something that makes you scratch your head and you're like, how?
Oh, it won't anymore.
I mean,
won't anymore.
You have to think back to this and like, well, here's guys that are supposed to be the best players in the world making the same. Let's face it, it is a 10, 11-year-old mistake. Not even that. Probably a 9-year-old mistake.
And honestly, though, we forget we're playing a kid's game. Like, I tell all my guys that, like, hey, you're playing a kid's game. React, doing, have instinct. Like,
what's some of the youth baseball mistakes, or even high school, that you've seen in person, that you've witnessed in person?
Nothing like this, but I mean, typical base running mistakes. There's been a time where actually I was just umpiring this past weekend, and kid fields it clean. There's a runner on first base, 2 outs. Kid fields it clean, goes to throw. The kid doesn't take off from first base, by the way, so he's just sitting on first base, and he goes to throw, falls out of his hand. All he has to do is flip it to second. The guy is 50 feet away from the bag, 50 feet away from second base. Nobody in the entire park is yelling 2. They're still yelling 1. So he throws it to first. It goes over the fence. Now everybody's on second and third. When all he had to do was flip it to second base, we're out of the inning.
Knowing the situation.
Yeah, and we would have had a run rule had he got that out, not have got out of there earlier.
And I used to preach
Just to let that be known.
I used to preach that to my kids all the time when I was coaching. Know the situation. Know what you're going to do with the baseball if it's hit to you. Not only if it's hit to you, if it's hit to you soft, if it's hit to you hard, if it's hit to you normal. Know what you're going to do with the baseball.
As a lot of times as a coach, I always joke with other coaches, and I'm like, you know what? I'm playing chess while you're playing checkers. But baseball is so much like chess. You have to be thinking so many moves ahead. Okay, runner on first, I get the ball going, going to my right. Where am I going then? If I get the ball going up the middle, where am I going? Like, you have to play. Yes, situations. You have to play 4 or 5 situations out in your head.
The biggest base running blunder that I was a part of, that I saw, happened in 2000. I want to say 2006, 2007, somewhere in there. I had a team in Cooperstown, and we were playing in the elimination bracket. And my assistant coach, Mike McCullen, if he's on air listening to this, I'm sure he's probably chuckling because he knows where I'm going with this story. The biggest base running error I've seen was we were in a game, 6th inning, bottom of the 6th inning, bases loaded. We are up by 3, or maybe it was 2 on and we were up by 2. But anyway, the kid that was up to plate, up to bat, had already hit not 1, but 2 home runs. And we still have the lead. We're up, I think it was 2. I think we were up 7-5. And he comes up in the top of the 6th or bottom of the 6th inning with 2 on, and my assistant coach Mike is saying, you got to walk this kid. And we're in Cooperstown, and remember, it's only 200-foot fences. And I'm telling him, I'm like, there is no way this kid's going to hit 3 home runs in one game. Are you kidding me? There is no way. We're going to pitch to him. There's 2 outs. We're going to pitch to him.
Exactly.
There's no way.
And he's 12.
He's 12. There's no way he's going to hit a third one. First pitch.
See ya.
Bam, gone. Over the field, over the fence. So now we're going to be staring at a 1-run deficit. Except the kid at second base, he's jumping up and down, and he misses third base by 10 feet easy. He doesn't even come in the neighborhood of touching the bag. And at that point in the tournament, we were pretty late in the tournament, Cooperstown had 4 umpires on the field. So there was 1 at every base.
Oh.
And as soon as that kid missed third base, I saw him because we were in a third base dugout. I saw him miss third base, and my neck immediately snaps over to look at the umpire, and he looks directly at me.
And that's when you know you got him.
I know I got him.
When the umpire looks at you, you know you got him.
You
like,
know
hey,
you got him.
please. He's like, please come talk to me. Please.
So I tell my kid to step off. We're going to appeal to third base. The runner that was originally at second base missed third base, and the umpire calls him out.
So none of the runs count.
One run count, because it's a timing play. So the first run counts. So we're still up by 1. We win the game. The game's over because that was a 6th inning. That's the 3rd out. There was 2 outs. That's the 3rd out. So the game's over and they lose. So that was the biggest base running blunder that I witnessed and was a part of. But it can happen at any age. And the kid was just excited. He was jumping up and down. And you remember the old play in Major League Baseball, the neighborhood play at second base.
Yeah.
It wasn't even, they wouldn't even give him that neighborhood play from back then. That's how far this kid just not even remotely close to the bag. So, yeah, it happens. Well, let's move on to the next topic, which you and I are going to
Absolutely disagree.
Absolutely disagree on. But it's the bat flips now that are becoming commonplace, not only in Major League, but they're trickling down to colleges, even into youth baseball. And we're going to tee up the first one. Grassi, tee up the first one from University of Tennessee.
Smell you.
And the walk-off that the kid from Tennessee hit to win the game. And listen, I get it. He's excited. He is on top of the world. But what he did, in my opinion, is totally uncalled for. Turns around. He basically stares down the other bench, throws the bat in the air, and I just don't agree with it. I mean, so let me get this straight. We're supposed to stop and admire you for doing your job.
No, you're not supposed to stop and admire me for doing my job. But what you are supposed to admire is the fact that this game is a game of failure, and I just took you yard to end the game. And I think that's what's going on. Like, I've seen such a disconnect, and maybe it's because I do coach emotional and I do coach high octane. Like, I love that stuff because it's a game of failure. So whenever you're, again, on top of the world, that's the natural raw emotion. Now, he takes the bat, the Jose Bautista thing. Don't know if they, if you've not seen it, go check it out. When he threw the bat at the other dugout, okay, cool. Now I see why there's an issue, because you're looking at the dugout, you threw the bat at them, got it. But this kid is just raw emotion, College World Series, like your regional's on the line. See you later, ball, and let everybody in the park know about it.
Listen, I don't want everybody to think that I'm a fuddy-duddy or, the term that gets used for people my age. I get the emotion part of it. I get being excited. But there's different ways about doing it. And actually, we're going to show you later in top plays of a kid who I think does it the right way.
Yep. Now here's the thing. If you go out of your way to do those bat flips, gotcha.
What was that from Tennessee?
I don't think you went out of your way, man. That was an emotional game. It was chippy.
Hang on.
He didn't go out of his way.
Run that clip again. Hang on. He went out of his way.
Now, the stare down, I don't agree with.
He stared down.
I don't agree with the stare down.
Flips the bat in the air. And as he's rounding third base, he does a little Mary Poppins skip, takes his helmet, chucks it to center field. Come on. That's going out of his way.
Now, the stare down, I will agree with you. He did go out of his way. But outside of that, I don't see anything wrong with it. Outside of him staring them down, there's nothing wrong with what he did. I don't care if he does a cartwheel in a home plate after hitting a grand slam walk-off.
Now, I can tell you what I don't mind. I don't mind how long it took him to get around the bases. I'm okay with that. Because this is go back, I'll defend you. It's an excitable moment. But as he comes towards home plate and does the Mary Poppins skip and takes the helmet and chucks it into center field, that's...
But to me, it's no different than Trevor Bauer putting his sword away after striking somebody out.
Now, here we go. I'm glad you brought that up, because this is what I'm going to get into. First, I want to show you the video of a youth player doing something similar to what the Tennessee player did. Mm-hmm. This happened down in the tournament a couple of weeks ago, and the kid hits an absolute bomb. And I'm not taking nothing away from the kid. He hits an absolute bomb, but the bat goes 30 feet in the air. He's 12. And so that type of play is coming down, and it's trickling down from the pros to college to now we're getting into a 12-year-old kid who decides to make it all about himself at 12. And, I get the excitement of it, but I think there's a right way and a wrong way.
Yeah, I mean...
Now, I showed you the video from Tennessee. I've showed you the video from the 12-year-old that did the bat flip. Now we're going to talk about... You talked about Trevor Bauer. Let's talk about the back and forth. And this is where I think it's going to get dangerous. Because now I think what's going to happen is going to be a game of one-upping what you just showed me up on. And I think you're going to start seeing the pitchers. And let's be honest. Who succeeds more, the pitcher or the hitter?
Oh, the pitcher.
The pitcher, right? So I think you're going to start seeing
But that's where I think the emotion comes from, is that it is normally the pitcher taking you down, because I've always been told great pitching beats great hitting.
It does. Absolutely, it does.
So whenever you have that mindset and you've been told that your whole life, and then you're, 3 out of every 10, you're successful. So you're failing 7 times. When those moments go your way, it's just natural, man. Like,
okay, fine. You know what? I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I'm going to give you that.
Okay.
I'm going to give you that. But then what are you going to do when that pitcher gets you 7 out of 10 times and he makes you look like a fool?
Then you got to wear it.
You got to wear it, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
But that's where this stuff is going wrong, because it's becoming personal. It's not about their success. Here's the thing. If I go in there and I hit a 3-point shot, or I go score a game-winning touchdown, or I hit this walk-off grand slam, I should be allowed to show emotion. One, because I just succeeded in a moment that every kid's dreamed about. How many times have you been in the backyard, 3-2 count, 2 outs, bases are loaded, and you tell yourself, I hit a walk-off? You have visualized that, and whenever it becomes reality, holy cow, like, wow.
I get that. But now that pitcher who just basically was showing up, the next time he faces that team, if he strikes you out and he does something on the mound out of normal,
tip your cap.
I'm not going to have no problem with it.
Tip your cap.
Okay, now here's what it goes to. Now the pitcher's getting him back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the next time the hitter comes up, let's say the pitcher gets him again. So the pitcher makes his antics and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Next time the hitter comes up, he gets the best of the pitcher that time. So now he's going to try to one-up him.
And I think that makes for great baseball.
I disagree. I think this is where...
Until it hits the point to where pitchers feel like they got to throw at somebody.
That's my point.
But the thing is if your emotions are out of control to where you can't handle failing, because here's the thing, let's be real, I've probably struck out over 1,000 times in the times that I've played baseball, from the time I was 8 years old till I quit playing. Probably struck out 1,000 times. And every time I seen a pitcher like, let's go, beat their chest. Well, guess what? Now when I get back up and then I hit this home run or I hit this walk-off double, I'm going to let you know the exact feeling that you just let me have.
But hang on. So, again, devil's advocate.
Right.
Pitcher's got the bases loaded, 2 outs, full count.
Mm-hmm.
He strikes out the batter.
Right.
He's standing there, he strikes out.
Yeah.
Pitcher takes his glove, throws it up in the air, throws it into center field, starts dancing around on the mound, points his finger, stares down him, stares down the other team. I mean, it's going to go back and forth eventually. This is where it's going to get to. And it's going to cause bad blood. So...
But if my thinking is, if you're my opponent, I don't care if you have bad blood with me.
Okay, that's your thinking, though. But that's not the thinking of most of America. Most of America is going to get offended that you just showed me up, and now I'm going to do something to get you back.
And so then that needs to be speak with your talent, speak with you striking out him
That's
the next time.
That's not the way it works, though. You're living in a fantasy world.
I'm not, though, because I know that whenever my kids are approaching the game, whenever that kid, I can think back to the Versus event that we just had with our BY Elite guys. You know what? A kid hit a bomb. He hit one about 300 feet, and he was excited, which good for you. And the first thing I told my pitcher was, I want you to throw a fastball right down the gut, and I want you to challenge everybody else on the field.
Okay, that's you. But these guys that are getting paid
how we
millions
all
of
need to
dollars,
think.
well, I don't disagree. That's not the way it is. They're going to get on that mound and goes, all right, I'm going to throw one right in your rib cage. Or worse, I'm going to throw one right in your ear hole.
Well, then I guess I'm going to take my base, and then we're going to hit a walk-off bomb, and somebody else is going to show you up.
Yeah, or you're injured.
But again,
you got a broken rib.
But to me, that's where emotions, you're letting the emotions get the best of you, because this is something that's competitive. This is something that makes a winner or a loser. There's supposed to be raw emotion. And if you can't buy into that, and somebody's showing you up or being better than you, that bothers you to where you need to throw at somebody, then that's an ego check.
I give you a lot of credit, because you are of the mindset that if that tit for tat starts happening and it goes back and forth, I give you a lot of credit because you said, hey, you just got to wear it. I mean, the kid from Tennessee does his antics.
Yep.
Next time he gets struck out, if a pitcher chooses to do some stupid antics, he's just got to wear it.
Yep.
He can't take offense to it. He can't get mad. He can't do anything because he just did the same thing. If that's the approach we're going to take, then I'm fine with it. But unfortunately, I don't think that's the approach that's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, and here's the thing. I talk trash. That's what I do. I love it. I think it's a great part of the game. I think it's a lost start of the game if you do it correctly. But, I mean, it's no different than me and my cousins playing anything. Whenever I talk trash and I'm beating them, hey, they got to wear it. But guess what? When the roles are reversed and they're talking that trash back and they're showing me up, I got to wear it.
Okay, in all your years with your cousins, that ever got physical?
I mean.
Oh, yeah, exactly. See, you're making my point for me.
Yeah, but not really though, because I'm talking about I've had 1,500 interactions with them. So yes, we've probably had 5 or 6 altercations.
Sure,
out of
that's all it takes.
1,500.
It doesn't matter. It only takes one. It only takes one, because then one goes into 2, 2 goes into 3.
But I can say this,
and it becomes easier. It becomes easier the next time.
Yeah, but since we've been emotionally matured, not 12 or 13 years old, no, we've never had a physical altercation.
I'm 52, and I don't know if I'm emotionally mature yet.
I mean, but I'm meaning emotionally mature in the fact of you can handle failure, and I think that's what's going wrong in this country is we cannot handle failure.
I give you that.
Instant gratification every time.
Okay. So you just said you're 12 or 13 years old and you were emotionally immature.
But
I just showed you. Hang on. I just showed you a 12-year-old home run.
Yeah. But that's where you come into play, or me. That's where
coach.
Coaches come into play to teach that. Hey, man, you failed this time. So what? Now you got to come back and you got to be the dog when he comes back.
Or
up.
you get that coach that says, you know what? Next time he comes up, put one.
Well, then shame on him. If coaches are the ones that are about that life, okay. So shame on them.
Maybe the coach isn't. Maybe the player just takes it upon himself and says, you know what? I'm going to put one right.
Well, then you know what? I'm pulling that kid right off the bump, and that's not how we play the game. And see you.
Okay.
I just think there's always a way as a coach that you can correct the situation to where things aren't getting out of hand.
My concern is it's just going to, like you talked about with your family, it's going to get physical because eventually you're going to get to that line where I'm not taking this no more.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when look, the grown adults, I could care less.
Right.
But when you start seeing it at the youth level, I've got to speak up and say something because I do have a concern that it's going to get back a tit for tat and it's going to get out of control. And, emotions at these events already run high as it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much to light that firecracker.
Correct.
So, all right, let's get on, man. We're going to run short of time here. Let's get on. We're going to preview the TbS Nationals as far as what we've got going on next week. We've got 77 teams coming in to play in the event. We're going to start with the 8U division. Kid pitch. We don't do coach pitch or T-ball or anything of that nature. We're bringing in 6 teams we've got coming in to compete. They are Louisville Sting, Motor City Hit Dogs out of Michigan, Performance Club out of Indiana, PYO Patriots, and Viper Baseball. We've got 6 teams from 5 different states. Looking forward to watching the little guys. It's one of my most fun ages to watch is the 8-year-olds because
anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Anything at all.
And I tell my umpires all the time that the 8U might be the toughest one to umpire because anything can happen.
Every time.
You just don't think that it's even possible for it to happen. And then an 8-year-old gets this great idea in his head and it kind of develops into a shake your head moment.
Yep. Yep.
So looking forward to seeing the 8U guys. I'm not going to make any predictions on who I think is going to win, lose, or anything. I just don't think that's fair for those guys.
Well, I'm a Louisville, Kentucky guy, so.
Well, you're going to be pulling for the home team. I get it. Let's go on to the 9U division. We've got 8 teams coming in for the 9U. We've got Ohio, Indiana, Tennessee, Louisiana, Kentucky, Virginia, and Florida represented. This is going to be a good one. Double elimination. I know Southern Finest comes in ranked number 1 in the country in our latest polls. So they're going to be the team that's going to have the bullseye on their back. But I know West Florida just beat them here a few weeks ago in a tournament. So I know they're looking forward to seeing those guys again.
Hey, I've seen that Razorbacks team, man. They're pretty good, too.
They're good.
They're pretty good.
Yeah, and so again, this is something at 9-year-old, not much different than the 8s. A little more fine-tuned. The base dimensions go back a little bit, and anything can happen in the 9-year-old division. I'll tell you, you're going to see a lot of teams with making double plays and throwing runners out as catchers, and you don't normally see that in 9-year-old events, but you're going to see it in this age group for sure. Move on to the 12-year-old or 10-year-old division. It's got 12 teams, and man, this is going to be a good one. We've got teams from Indiana, Texas, Tennessee, Mississippi, Ohio, Indiana, North Carolina, Florida, Illinois, and Kentucky in this one. Going to be a barn burner. This is going to be a great group of kids to watch. You want to see some good baseball, these 10-year-olds. Playing on 200-foot fences out here at the E-Town Sports Park, you're going to see some home runs.
You're going to see a lot
You're
Of
going to see
home
some
runs.
home runs out of this group. It's a battle of the wills who's going to be left standing at the end. So the 8, 9, and 10-year-olds, they will start Thursday, June 17th at the E-Town Sports Park. 5-game guaranteed, double elimination. And these guys all coming in thinking they're going to walk away with the rings and the hardware. So this will be a fun one to watch. If you guys aren't doing nothing, come on out to E-Town Sports Park next week. We'll be there Tuesday through Sunday. You want to see some good baseball. These type of teams don't come into the Kentucky area very often. So do yourself a favor. If you're in the area, come on out and watch these guys compete. We're going to skip on down to the 13U division. We got 10 teams coming in for that one. This is going to be a lot of these teams, a couple of these teams are going to be their first time playing 60-90. This is a 60-90 event. They're going to be getting ready to go on to the high school fields. So we'll have 10 teams in for this one with some good teams coming out of Georgia, Kentucky, Texas, Florida, Indiana, Tennessee, North Carolina. And this is going to be no different than the 9-year-old. It's going to be a battle of the wills.
And the thing is they play on 250 out here at E-Town. So if you think
Not for these guys. We're going to be playing on the 60-90s. Yeah, they're going to be playing on the high school fields.
okay,
They're going to be playing on the high school fields, but they don't have to use BB core. They can use up to a drop 5.
which
Still, the ball flies.
oh yeah,
The ball flies. You'll see a couple kids hit home runs for sure out of here, but it becomes a 60-90, and that's the equalizer at 13.
it is, especially because of pitching.
Yeah. You got to play defense.
Yes, you have to.
You got to play defense at 13U. Actually, got to play defense at every age loop.
Pitchers have got to be able to hold them on lead wise.
Yep. You got to be able to do that.
Yep.
Let's get on to our 11-year-old division, and man, this is a good one here. We got 12 teams. The field is led by TbS number 1 and number 2 in the country will be here. Traction Canes and GT National Prospects out of California. And everybody will be chasing those two teams for sure. But anything can happen if one of those two teams overlooks any one of these teams on this list. That's going to be a big mistake. Double elimination format, same here. 4 pool games followed by double elimination. These types of events, 9 times out of 10, the best, deepest team who's got the deepest pitching usually wins in the double elimination format. Single elimination, anything can happen. And honestly, that's why a lot of these teams are coming here, because they like that double elimination format. Again, we've got teams from Texas, Georgia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio, Virginia, Louisiana coming in for that one in California. So that's going to be some great baseball. And then we've got probably the top 12-year-old tournament for 2021 in the entire country. There's not a field in the country that's going to be as tough as this.
Nah.
This is the one that everybody's talking about all over the country. This is where all the big boys are going to be. If you're one of the big boys in the 12-year-old division, you're here in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, June 15th through the 20th.
This will legit crown a national champion.
This will legit crown a national champion. When this one's done, there'll be no doubt about who number 1 in the country is.
Yep.
And I know there's some other tournaments that are going on after this. It don't matter.
No.
This is it. This is the big one. This is the one that everyone's talking about. We've got 9 of the top 10 teams in the entire country will be here for this one. Headlined by number 1 and number 2, East Cobb Astros, who've only had 2 losses the entire season, and ZT out of California, who is coming here to prove that they are the better team. This one is absolutely loaded. Teams with Ohio, Florida, North Carolina, Texas, Georgia, Tennessee, Indiana, Kentucky, South Carolina, North Carolina. I mean, this thing is just absolutely loaded, and you're going to see dozens, 12 to 20 kids throwing 75 mile an hour or better at this event. 250-foot fences are not going to hold a lot of these kids. There's going to be some dramatic home runs hitting this one for sure.
Yeah.
So this one excites me. I've got goosebumps sitting here talking to you about this age group.
Just looking at the list, man, is unreal.
It is going to be an absolute survival battle of the fittest. And
none of these teams can be slept on.
no, none of them.
I mean,
None of them.
you clearly can't, but if you could throw your ace at every one of them, you need to.
No, yeah.
You need to.
This tournament here comes down to it's not about who's number 1 is better, because they're all equally as good.
Exactly.
It's about who's number 6 and number 7 is better. That's what this tournament comes down to.
Weakest link. Who's your weakest link? And
Double
can they
elimination. And folks, I'm telling you, you get a chance. These games will all be streamed live through Highcast Sports.
Yep.
So if you want to tune in to watch some of these games over the course of next week, and then we'll be broadcasting the championship games in all age groups, 8 through 12. We're going to broadcast every one of the championship games live on Facebook Live. We're going to bring in color commentators, play-by-play announcers. We're going to have instant replay. That the coaches will get some challenges, 2 challenges per game in the instant replay. So that'll be exciting to watch. And that all takes place next week here in E-Town at the TravelBall Select National Championships. I can't wait. It's the most exciting time of year for me. I get to go out there and meet some old friends, make some new ones, and watch some great youth baseball.
If you can't get a hold of me, by the way, next weekend while we're at this event, wherever the 12U teams are, just go ahead and head that way and you'll probably find me.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's a who's who of the 12Us for sure. And like I said, when that tournament's done, we will already know who the best team in the country is.
100%.
So that will be no doubt about that. Well, that gives us our preview for the TbS Nationals. I'm looking forward to it. Tune in next week. We'll be able to see some games. Tune in to streaming on that and be able to watch some of those games. All right, let's get on to the top 10 plays for the month of May. And when we get started, I'm going to show you a home run in there that I think the young man does it right. I'll make sure to point it out to you when that happens. So let's get going. Without further ado, let's get going with the top 10 for the month of May.
I knew I should have submitted my kid's Grand Slam.
There you go. All right, starting off at number 10. This is Alex Martinez from TbS number 4 Hollywood Heat, walking off TbS number 3 TG Diamondbacks in grand fashion. Bottom of the 6th, 2 outs, 2 strikes, and down by 3, he goes grand salami for the 1-run win. Number 9, another game in the bottom of the 6th. 2 outs, bases loaded, but this time defense wins. As Texas Canes elite Dylan Moore robs Dynasty Black with a nice running catch to preserve the 4-3 win. At number 8, this is Hayden Eckhart with a 3-run blast to put Vegas Express ahead of MVP in the top of the 5th. Vegas went on to win. More from this game later. Number 7, Santiago Ponte launches a grand slam to lead TbS number 10 5-star elite over TbS number 1 East Cobb Astros. This is only the second loss by the Astros all season. Kudos to the young man for handling the home run the right way. Number 6, back to Vegas. Catcher Snowbell with the old-fashioned strike him out, throw him out, double play. Going on to number 5. Watch the wheels of 16-year-old Bryn Davis as she turns on this pitch and drives it over the right fielder's head. This is first-class speed as she races around the bases and heads toward home before the ball even comes back into the infield. Good Lord. Number 4. You want to talk about speed? Watch this player as he takes the cutoff and decides to outrun the base runner to third base to get the final out. Throw it, young man. You don't need to wear yourself out. Number 3, another bases loaded situation with the game on the line. 1 out in the 7th inning, and we have a ground ball to Brody Keene, who flips to Miles Auks to turn the sweet double play. TbS number 2 Traction Canes hangs on for a 6-4 win. Number 2, most weeks this would be number 1. Check out the stretch by Rebel catcher Gage Gandy to get the force, and then have the presence of mind to get the runner trying to steal a run to turn in one of the best double plays you'll ever see. He tried for the triple play, but the runner at third was safe. This, number 1, might be the catch of the year. Watch Bean River center fielder Olivia Taylor go airborne to take away a home run in her high school state championship game. Have not seen a better catch than that this year. Tabor, can you believe the catch that she made on that?
No, like for one to have that kind of body control, that kudos.
And for those of you wondering, that catch is actually an out because she started in fair territory. Yep. So it's an out. So kudos to her. Now, I got to go back to the home run that the kid hit. Did you see the difference? Did you see the difference?
Yeah, but that didn't amp me up.
He laid the bat down, and he held his hand up, and he went ahead and went towards first base. To me, that he did it the right way.
But
he's still excited.
But he didn't amp me up.
Why not? It was exciting.
Maybe.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, that's all the time we have for tonight. We'll get into this more, I'm sure, in the weeks to come. But I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. Let us know your thoughts. Comment on the Facebook page below. Send us a message. I appreciate everyone for tuning in tonight. We're coming to you live from the Athletic Sports Group studios in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm Rick Goff, your host. Thanks, Tabor, for joining us tonight, and to the best producer in the group, Anthony Grassi. Thank you, and we will see you live next week as we broadcast from the TbS Nationals live at 7 o'clock from the park next week. Good night, everyone.